Welcome to day 20 of our epic 40-day 2025 Pacific Northwest road trip as we travel 403 miles from Depot Bay, Oregon to spend the day at the Newberry National Volcanic Monument before spending the night at the Dulles in the Columbia River Gorge National Scenic Area. This marked the halfway point of our journey time-wise. We first traveled 235 miles to reach Newberry National Volcanic Monument in central Oregon. As we drove, we passed through the smoke from the flat fire, which we had observed from Crater Lake a few days before. It primarily burned northeast of the town of Sisters in Deschutes County, affecting approximately 23,380 acres. Fortunately, the fire was 97% contained by the time we drove into the area. And this is Newberry National Volcanic Monument. Newberry National Volcanic Monument is located inside the Deschutes National Forest near Bend, Oregon. It features distinct visitor areas shaped by ancient volcanic activity. The monument is split into two primary zones, the Paulina Lake and East Lake Caldera area to the south, and the Lava Lands and Lava Butte area to the north. As the visitor center was not yet open when we arrived, we elected to take the road to the top of Paulina Peak. Paulina Peak Overlook is the highest point on the Newberry Volcano, standing at an elevation of 7,984 feet. Access is gained via a 4.1-mile unpaved gravel road. It is steep, narrow, rough, and has no guardrails. Most of the road is only wide enough for a single car, and there's no place to turn around until you reach the summit. This is easily the scariest road I have ever driven. It took me 20 minutes to reach the top, white-knuckling it all the way. We were fortunate that no one was coming down while we were ascending and no one was coming up as we were descending. This premier viewpoint offers a dramatic 360-degree panorama. Visitors can look down directly into the Newberry caldera to see Paulina Lake, East Lake, and the massive Big Obsidian flow. On a clear day, the view extends along the Cascade Range from Mount Shasta in California all the way to Mount Adams in Washington. This photo of Newberry Volcano was taken by an astronaut on board the International Space Station. Its last eruption was 1,300 years ago and is one of a number of active and potentially dangerous volcanoes in the Pacific Northwest. Numerous eruptions over the past 400,000 years have produced a large range of ash and rock deposits, pyroclastic flows, lava flows, and small vents within and surrounding Newberry's large caldera. The approximate extent is indicated by the dashed line. Here we are at the Newberry National Volcanic Park Overlook. I'm not sure this is where I wanted to go. Well, no, this is where I wanted to go, but I thought it was something different. It was much more treacherous to get up here. During Newberry's most recent activity just 1,300 years ago, the Big Obsidian flow was born. This massive sweeping crescent of razor-sharp black volcanic glass and light pumice covers over a square mile. The bright pale sandy area above the Big Obsidian flow consists of heavy deposits of volcanic ash and pumice. It is known as Pumice Flat. It is a barren, wide volcanic plain and features a unique otherworldly landscape blanketed in deep volcanic pumice. Because there is virtually no organic soil, tree growth is non-existent, and vegetation is limited to a few highly adapted, ground-hugging plants like alpine buckwheat. And here's another view from the top of this particular part. And I now know this is the Paulina Peak Overlook. Here we see the rugged volcanic landscape looking down into the Newberry caldera. The landscape is part of a 17-square-mile collapsed caldera that was formed by historic volcanic activity. Newberry is the largest volcano in the Cascade Volcanic Arc, with an area of 1,200 square miles when its lava flows are taken into account. Eruptive activity at Newberry Volcano began about 600,000 years ago and has been built up by several thousand eruptions. About 500,000 years ago, Mount Newberry attained an elevation of 14,000 feet. The caldera forming event occurred about 75,000 years ago from a major explosive eruption. Unlike other shield-shaped volcanoes, which often erupt basaltic lavas only, Newberry Volcano has also erupted andesitic and rhyolitic lavas. The caldera is topped by twin crater lakes, Paulina and East Lake. Though it initially developed as one large lake, subsequent volcanism formed a ridge that separated it into two. The massive body of water visible below is Paulina Lake, one of Oregon's deepest lakes, reaching a depth of nearly 250 feet. It is a stunning 1,531-acre alpine lake, sitting at an elevation of 6,331 feet. It is famous for its geothermal hot springs, world record trout fishing, and dramatic views of Paulina Peak. After descending from the Paulina Peak overlook, we made our way to the Paulina Visitor Center. What we didn't know at the time of visiting was that each area of the monument had separate visitor centers. The monument is split into three geographically distinct areas: the Newberry Caldera, South area, the Lava Cast Forest, Central area, and the Lava Lands area, North area. Each offers separate trailheads and experiences, and the visitor centers are specific to each individual area. There is no all-encompassing visitor center. The Paulina Visitor Center is a repurposed historic Forest Service guard station. It is the interpretive hub for the Newberry Caldera. The specific areas of interest in this area are Paulina Peak, the Big Obsidian Flow, Paulina and East Lakes, and Paulina Falls. Inside, visitors can find a Forest Service ranger and a bookstore where maps, books, and various souvenirs are available for purchase. The center did not have information about the other areas of the monument. Our next stop was the Big Obsidian Flow. The Big Obsidian Flow Trail is a unique, scenic 0.7-mile loop trail. Just 1,300 years old, it traverses the youngest lava flow in Oregon, a massive 150-foot thick field made entirely of shiny black volcanic glass, obsidian, and gray pumice. A paved path leads to a flight of steel stairs that climbs directly onto the massive wall of volcanic glass. And we're on our way to the Big Obsidian Flow at Newberry Volcanic National Monument, or Volcanic Park, whatever. And there's some of the obsidian there. It's supposed to be one of the largest obsidian flows in the world. This interpretive sign is titled A Glass Menagerie. The entire surface of this remarkable flow is glass, a liquid that cooled without crystallizing. The striking differences you see from rock to rock are due to the number and size of bubbles. Obsidian is solid glass with no bubbles, and pumice is frothy glass with either small bubbles, which is white, or large bubbles, which is medium to dark gray. This sign is located at the base of the first set of stairs. Here's the obsidian flow. I'll have to go up those stairs. But that's the size of the flow. This shows the striking boundary where a pine forest meets the Big Obsidian Flow. This metal and wood staircase helped hikers scale 50 feet up the steep, rugged side of the massive volcanic rock deposit. The massive blocky wall of rock stops abruptly against the trees because the silica-rich rhyolite lava was highly viscous as it oozed out. I made a stop at the first landing. Here we are at the first landing. Mary decided to wait down. These views are from the first stairway landing, about halfway up the face of the flow. The dark, jagged pile of volcanic rocks forms a stark, sharp boundary against the surrounding pine forest. The Big Obsidian Flow is surrounded by a diverse conifer forest within the Deschutes National Forest. It is composed of ponderosa pine, lodgepole pine, and grand fir, white fir hybrids. White bark pine can also be found at higher elevations within the Newberry Caldera. The next stop was an interpretive sign titled The Eruption. The display explains the volcanic processes that occurred roughly 1,300 years ago. The diagram illustrates how highly viscous, silica-rich rhyolite magma forces its way up from the underground magma chamber to the surface. Because the magma cooled rapidly upon reaching the surface without giving crystals time to organize, it solidified into obsidian, a smooth dark volcanic glass. The thick, pasty, taffy-like lava moves slowly down the landscape to build the massive 66-foot thick field seen today. Here's a trail going further up. The Big Obsidian Flow Trail is rated as moderately difficult despite being a short 0.7-mile loop. And I'm continuing the hike. Full hike is only 3/4 of a mile round trip. The trail cuts directly through a 1,300-year-old lava field comprised of pumice and obsidian. The path is littered with shards that can be as sharp as surgical scalpels. A simple stumble or fall can easily result in deep cuts, lacerations, or ruined footwear. This path is also highly uneven and rocky. It features jumbled piles of loose volcanic boulders that can shift unexpectedly. Additionally, the glass-like surfaces of the large obsidian chunks are naturally slick and difficult to grip, making slips a constant risk. Here you can see some of the obsidian. The next interpretive sign was titled Tools for Survival. It describes how Native Americans used obsidian from the Newberry crater area to craft essential survival tools, including arrow points and scrapers, due to its ability to break into razor-sharp edges. The diagram at the bottom illustrates the step-by-step process of knapping stone into a finished weapon. Some nice large pieces of obsidian. Here is a particularly nice pile of obsidian boulders. And there's quite a bit of obsidian here. Wouldn't want to slip. From this viewpoint can be seen the Newberry caldera as well as Paulina Peak, which we had visited earlier. The next interpretive sign was titled Life on the Flow. This sign describes how a variety of tough pioneering wildlife, including lichens, trees, penstemon flowers, and frogs, gradually returns to and inhabits the harsh glassy volcanic field. I next took a side path which led to the highest point on the trail. This is the view from the top of the trail. This is the view looking north towards Paulina Lake. Here is another view of the caldera. This was the location of the final interpretive sign. This informational panel is titled A Special Place on This Planet. It highlights the critical role that obsidian played in shaping ancient economies and cultures, specifically connecting it to Mesoamerican history and mythology. Central American peoples relied heavily on the glassy gift of volcanoes to manufacture essential tools, weapons, jewelry, sculptures, and ceremonial items. And now I'm heading down on the trail. Here is another view of Paulino Lake. This specific iconic tree is a white bark pine tree growing directly out of the lava flow. It grows in a harsh environment composed purely of 1,300-year-old obsidian and pumice blocks, with virtually no soil or typical water access. Due to threats from white pine blister rust, bark beetle infestations, and climate change, the white bark pine is officially listed as a threatened species under the U.S. Endangered Species Act. They share a crucial symbiotic relationship with birds like the Clark's nutcracker, which plant and cache their seeds. We now headed for the Lava Lands area on the northern side of the monument, where we hope to see Lava Butte. This photo of Lava Butte is courtesy of Discover Your Northwest, an organization dedicated to promoting the discovery of the Deschutes and Ochoco National Forests and Crooked River National Grassland by enriching the experience of visitors, building community support, and creating the next generation of environmental stewards. Lava Butte is a 500-foot cinder cone volcano with a fire lookout at the top. The road to the top was closed to personal vehicles when we arrived. We didn't know it at the time, but the butte is accessible via a seasonal shuttle that operates daily from mid-May to mid-September. It is a 4.3-mile hike up the road. Since access to the butte closes at dusk and it was already early afternoon, I elected to hike the Trail of the Molten Land, a short 1.2-mile interpretive partial loop trail that winds through a 7,000-year-old basalt lava flow at the base of Lava Butte. I had only been hiking about 10 minutes when I noticed something rather disturbing on the trail. I'm not sure what made this, but I don't feel like going up the trail to find out. This was to go to the crater viewpoint. When I posted the video to Facebook, many people commented that it was just a horse. These are the prints that were by the scat. It doesn't look like a horse's hoof to me, and the ranger at the Paulino Visitor Center had mentioned that black bears have been active near campsites the past week, so I elected to call it a day. As we made our way to the Dalles, we passed through Ty Valley, a small unincorporated community that has stunning high desert geography. Heading down the highway towards the Dalles for the start of our adventure in the Columbia River Valley tomorrow.
That's a side off street.
I don't know if this is already the Columbia River Valley. I don't think so, because I don't see the Columbia River, but it's certainly a valley. I guess the Dalles is about the beginning of where the scenic Columbia River Valley starts. We stayed at the Dalles Inn in the Dalles, an inland port in the largest city in Oregon along the Columbia River outside of the Portland metropolitan area. The lobby was in a building undergoing construction, and our room was in a very rundown building adjacent to it. It was not a pleasant experience. This is my souvenir pin from Newberry National Volcanic Monument. I have now added it to my faux ranger's hat. Mary and I thank you for watching day 20 of our 2025 Pacific Northwest road trip, where we spent the day at the Newberry National Volcanic Monument in Deschutes National Forest near Bend, Oregon. My biggest regret is not having done enough research on the stop before arriving. I knew what I wanted to see, but I had assumed that I could get the specific information I needed at the visitor centers. They did not have paper trail maps available, or even general brochures. I think an app like AllTrails is probably the best bet for hikes. It's a wonderful park to visit, but be aware that you need to go to the visitor center in the specific area of the park you are in. Rangers are very knowledgeable about the areas that they are in, but don't have enough knowledge about other areas of the park. This is another park where we could have used a full day rather than the 6 hours we allotted ourselves. Once again, Mary and I thank you for watching our exploration of Newberry National Volcanic Monument, and we hope that you'll join us for day 21 as we travel through the incredible Columbia River Gorge National Scenic Area.